Hello, and welcome to this week's edition of River's Edge News. I'm your host, Brendan Stevens. Let's get to this week's top story. On May 24th, in response to lessening shelter-in-place restrictions, Pastor Trent shared our encouragement to invite someone over to watch the River Edge stream together on Sunday mornings. This week, as our area has moved to Phase 4 of the state's response to the COVID-19 outbreak, the size of allowable social gatherings is growing. The River's Edge leadership is continuing to monitor the state guidelines and decide how best to respond as a church community. This Sunday, June 7th, there will be an announcement about our plan for doing church in the weeks ahead. In the meantime, we continue to encourage you to invite friends and family over to watch our Sunday morning service together via Facebook, YouTube, and our iCampus. Last Sunday, May 31st, Pastor Chase invited special guest Hezekiah Trevino to talk about racism and injustice during our Sunday morning service. It was a powerful discussion, one that has the potential to serve as a catalyst for us as individuals and as a community. Now, this is usually the part of our broadcast when we bring out an expert to talk about one of the many great things going on at River's Edge. This week, however, as the conversation around racism and injustice continues, we feel this isn't a topic to be addressed lightly. Our eccentric experts will return in the weeks ahead. But this week, I've asked our youth pastor, Charlie Monroe, to join me so he could share his thoughts on last weekend's discussion. Charlie.
Hey guys. As Brendan said, last Sunday's discussion was just very powerful and done very well. And if you haven't listened to it yet, really just stop listening to me, go back and watch it. It's very much going to be worth your time. But as I listened to this last weekend, and there's a lot of things that you've probably seen on social media and on different videos and on the news. And some of these things are kind of hard to necessarily take home at times because a lot of this conversation feels like it's out there, but not here. And what I mean by that is it's something that kind of happens in different places in the world or different cities or different communities, but not in ours. And I know some of you definitely don't feel that, but I know there's a good portion of us that do. But one of the things that stood out to me about Hezekiah's conversation is when he made the brief comment that West Lansing has a notorious reputation for not being kind to minorities. And in that conversation, he's referring to the police. Now, to hear that thought process was really hard for me because I live in West Lansing. That's where I live, that's where I shop, that's where I eat, that's where I hang out with friends. And when he made that brief statement, it felt like the problem was no longer out there. It was around me, and around me in ways I never noticed or never would have thought of or never even would have assumed. But that's what happens a lot of times with the systematic issues is unless you're looking for those things, some of them happen so naturally that they're really hard to distinguish. And that was just a brief part of what he talked about, but his whole talk was just so wisely put that I just highly recommend you go back and look at it. So thank you for letting me talk to you today in a serious tone. As Brendan mentioned, in the weeks ahead, we will be a little more silly, but until then, I'll talk to you guys later.
Thank you, Charlie. And thank you to everyone who tuned in on Sunday or has since watched the recording on YouTube or Facebook Live. As Hezekiah shared, those conversations are a good place to start as we all seek to become better listeners and learners. We're encouraging everyone to watch the interview again, share it with people, and continue to take proactive steps toward being sources of Christ's light and love in our area and the world. Thank you for tuning in to another edition of River's Edge News, and until next time, good morning, good afternoon, and good night.